Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Suspect Channel. Please like and subscribe. Let me turn this music down here. So you got yourself a 1010 BlackBox. It's an excellent, small, well-built sampler, musical sketch piece. Go ahead and take a look at that bad boy. You pulled it out of the box. What are the first steps? Well, it comes with an 8 gigabyte SD card, micro SD. And I would suggest go ahead and putting that away, backing it up on your computer, getting something bigger, 32, 64, 128, and loading that in, updating the firmware, which I'll do a video on next. My card in there is 256 gigabyte. I got about 50, 60 gigabytes of samples on it, which is over 60,000 one-hits, loops, multi-sampled instruments, you name it. And I've got 197 gigabytes of free space left to sample with. So I'm not running out of room anytime soon. That's good to know. When you first get it, it's going to have all the factory content. It's going to have factory projects. You can go ahead and make a new one if you want, just by hitting File, New. You can delete, rename, all that sort of thing. I started one already, and I sampled in, just out of my iPad here, a couple kicks and a couple different snares. I actually made a little sequence, nothing earth-shattering, but that thing's going. And I have a hi-hat written in, but I don't have a hi-hat loaded yet. So I was going to bring you along on slot 3 here under the pads and hit the info button, load, and then try to find something maybe out of my drums folder. Load that up. Not the bark, not the baby. You can turn this off, have it not play. Except I have the sequence written already, so it's basically just going to follow my sequence. I don't want a ding, I want a hi-hat. There we are. I can live with this one here. And so, I got that going on the sequence here. It's a little loud. I'm going to go over to the mix page, turn that volume down a bit, just so it's not killing me. Head on over to the FX page. And right now I have FX1, which is the delay. And I got it on a couple settings here. 1/4, lots of feedback, beat sync on. So now if I add, I'm going to go ahead and add some delay and reverb at the same time. And you'll hear that going in the background. It's got a nice ping pong effect. Earlier I loaded up a little bass line here. And go to the pads. You can hear it play there. Just a double little bass hit. You can open up, check out the waveform. Now, when you load things up on the pads, it's either going to be a sample, a clip, which is a loop. You can slice it, you can turn it into a granular synth, or you also have these options to record to make new samples. I want this bass line to repeat, so I'm going to change it to a clip. And now when I press it, it should just start running. Nice and mellow, nothing too crazy. Now at any time, let's say you've added up some things, I got that hi-hat going, I like my bass, I don't want to lose my progress, you can just go back to the preset page, hit save, boom, it's done saving. I do that occasionally just so I don't lose out on my work, have a place to reload from. I also loaded up this this little sample here, it's from a multi-sample out of my little Cult Club synths. And these are actually multi-samples that you can load up. I just loaded the one sample because I didn't need a big octave range to play this off the keyboard. So if I go back to the pads, I can use the onboard keyboard, which is cool. I currently have it set, I believe, to a poly setting. So you can do mono, poly 2, 4 voice, 6 voice, 8 voice, etc. I just got it on 4 in case I want to do some pads. I also have my Korg Monologue hooked up. Its volume is down and I'm just using it as a MIDI keyboard. I got it going USB into the BlackBox so I can play off the keyboard here if I want. And that gives me velocity sensitivity, which is really nice. And, of course, the Monologue is monophonic, but since I'm playing the sample in here, I can play simple chords if I knew any. This sequence here is a little dull, so I'm going to take some of those, I think the 2 snares, which are track 6 or pad 6. I'm going to go into the events. Going to select the last snare of the 2, and I'm going to put that on a probability of, let's say, 75%. So it should play 3/4 of the time. Played that time. Played that time. And there, it skipped it. Now again, get a little dub effects going here. Spice it up a little. I'm going to crank the reverb and that delay at 1/4 and tons of feedback just to capture one of the snare hits. Let that go ahead and show in the background. And what I'd like to do now is I think record in a real simple line off of my MIDI keyboard into a sequence. Now I could go ahead and use the keys, but the problem is you see all these little lines because I got a 128 step count. I'm going to bring that back to something a little more manageable. 1/6 step length and 16 steps. Now you can program in just like a piano roll and do your deal. That's kind of low on the register. So I'm going to scroll up to something a little higher and just put in some random notes. And it's going. It's doing its thing, but I think I'd rather play in some notes. Not a very good keyboard player, but we'll go for it anyway. Let's see if I can zoom in a little for you. And I'm going to hit record and just do a real simple line. Nothing earth-shattering, but I think you get the point. Now you can go and combine and create these sort of things as much as you want. Let's say I didn't like that hi-hat after all. It's a little grating, a little annoying. I could, of course, turn the volume down a little. I could pan it one side to the other. I just don't like it anymore. So if I turn this bottom knob where we have our velocity slider, it'll reveal the cut, copy, paste, and clear. Since that's now highlighted, I'm just going to clear it. Yeah, I didn't like that one too much, so I'm going to go in and find another. And I think that was under drums. Go back into those drums. Find a different hi-hat. Yeah, that one's nice. It's a little lighter. So I'm going to load that up into its place. And now it's just going under the same sequence. Which is just Force there going along. You can enter them in by hand. The touchscreen's a little small, so if you need to be a little more accurate, you can always zoom in and do that sort of thing. Return it back to its sort of an overall look there. Now, go ahead and stop this for a minute. One of the cool things, we got this sample here. It's loaded up as a sample. You can, of course, turn it into a clip, which is what I did with that bass. It was originally a sample, and it'll just play as a one-shot. You can turn it into a clip, and it'll loop as long as everything's playing. Launch it, and it'll just keep looping. You could take something like this. I'll clear that out so we can hear it better. You could take this sound here, sample it, loop it. You can slice it up or actually do a little granular synthesis, which is nice. So I just turned it into its little granular synthesis engine. So if I go into edit, where we have our levels, pitch, I've got it filtered, high pass filter, left for low pass filter, right for high pass filter, middle for none. I got it filtered up a bit. It's on trigger. I'm going to change that to gate, so that way instead of just playing through with one hit, it'll play. If I hold the key down, it'll play longer. Add a little more release. A little more. Yeah, that's a nice tail in there. Go to the granular. I might slow it down a bit. Increase the grain size. Mess with the spread a bit. And most importantly, I'm just going to shorten up the area that it's catching that sound from. Yeah, make it nice and punchy. And then move that whole loop around. And now I think I'll try another live recording. And we captured that in the sequence. You can, of course, adjust notes. You can do your probabilities, mess with the velocity individually. That's pretty much it for how you get started. One of the most exciting things about this is it's a really easy and powerful sampler, which I'll get to in one of my next videos. Alright, thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you soon.